This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Thursday, October 10th, 2024. We're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode of AM PM, it is the latest edition of Between the Pods. I will be joined by Mike Steenhoek. He is the Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. And Mike will be joining us coming up here on the show. But first, it's time for a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff. You are watching Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Today on Ag Matters PM, it is the latest edition of Between the Pods. I am joined by Mike Steenhoek, the Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition, and a lot to talk about right now with Mike, as we will, of course, discuss the situation in the Southeast with the hurricanes and how that is affecting the transport of grain. And then we will turn our attention once again to another problem spot, which is unfortunately happening for the third year in a row with the Mississippi River levels.
It's time to go between the pods with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and the Iowa Soybean Association. For the next year, we will explore the ways Iowa-grown soybeans are making a difference at home and around the world. Now, here's your host of Between the Pods, Mark Magnuson.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Mike Steenhoek. We are at the Iowa Soybean Association building for Between the Pods. And Mike, you're located here in the Iowa Soybean Association building day to day, but could you remind us your job title, please?
Yeah, I work for an organization called the Soy Transportation Coalition, and it's funded by a collection of state soybean associations. The Iowa Soybean Association is one of 14 state soybean associations that funds the organization, along with the American Soybean Association and the United Soybean Board. So it's a farmer-funded, farmer-led organization, and as the name suggests, we work on transportation issues that are of consequence to farmers. Anything from improving the condition of our roads and bridges, to our highways and interstates, our freight rail system, our inland waterways, as well as our ports. We represent the agricultural commodity that, among everything that's planted in the United States, is the number one agricultural export. So if that's the reality for your industry, you can't just get supply right, you can't just get demand right. You also have to have a transportation system that can connect supply with demand in order for you to be profitable. So it makes a lot of sense for soybean farmers to elevate and emphasize the issue of transportation for their long-term success.
And that makes a lot of sense why you're located right here in this building as well. And Mike, we wanted to talk today about being at peak harvest time, getting that grain moving, obviously of paramount importance right now. But could you tell us kind of the 30,000-foot view? Where are we at in terms of getting grain transported right now? Is everything up to speed, up to code where we need it to be right now?
Yeah, one of the metaphors that I routinely use is that you never want to be in the business of attaching a garden hose to a fire hydrant. By all indications, we have a substantial harvest that's increasingly coming online. But then, which is good news, but then the problem is you've got to have a transportation system that can accommodate that significant volume. So what you want to do is you want to attach a fire hose to a fire hydrant in order to have efficient transportation of those commodities. Right now, unfortunately, we have a number of challenges related to our supply chain across a number of modes, and so as a result, we're attaching, unfortunately, a garden hose to a fire hydrant. And the inevitable result of that is you will see a slower time of delivery, a more expensive delivery, and a less reliable delivery. And this is the time, with all of the challenges that agriculture is facing, we need our transportation system to help facilitate farmer profitability, not be an obstacle to farmer profitability. And unfortunately, it's kind of serving as an obstacle right now.
Mike, what are the biggest challenges then this fall, this harvest season, in terms of moving grain?
Well, one of the benefits in the Midwest and for states like Iowa is that there's this, we are adjacent, we have great proximity to a very efficient maritime highway. called the Mississippi River. And the Mississippi River is very well positioned to transport heavy commodities like soybeans, like corn, long distances in an economical manner. But unfortunately right now, we have kind of a three-peat that none of us are really wanting to witness. We had low water conditions in 2022, 2023, and now in 2024, which is resulting in less water in the navigation channel. So then barge companies have to respond in two ways. Number one, they have to reduce the amount of tonnage that they're able to put in an individual barge because they're concerned that it might scrape the bottom of the river. And then number two, when you have less water in the channel, that diminishes the width of the navigation channel. So it's kind of like going from a 6-lane interstate down to 3 lanes. So now all of a sudden you can't put as many barges together to form one single unit or flotilla. And so the economics of barge transportation goes down because you can't move as much in one pass. And so as a result, barge rates will go up because you're disrupting the supply-demand balance between, barge demand and barge supply. And so it's just one more example that the infrastructure is not as efficient as it normally is. And that's a very inopportune time because we're in the midst of harvest.
And then on top of that, you throw in the extreme weather events we've seen recently. How does a hurricane factor into things, especially what we saw from Hurricane Helene here recently?
Well, obviously, that was a seismic devastation to a portion of the country, particularly in the southeast. One of the things that did occur as a result of Hurricane Helene is that a significant amount of rainfall that did fall within parts of the Midwest, which then made its way into, like the Ohio River, parts of the Mississippi River, the Tennessee River, the Kentucky River, all these rivers that funnel into the Mississippi ultimately. So we did see water levels increase pretty substantially. Memphis over 10 feet in a very short period of time. But now what we're witnessing now that water is now making its way out of the system into the Gulf of Mexico, water levels are once again retreating. So it won't be very long before we're back to some of those low water conditions that we experienced in 2023 and 2022. And again, the result of that is barge transportation is less efficient, more costly.
So Mike, then to wrap up here on what we're discussing here today, I wanted to ask you then, what does this ultimately mean for farmers then in getting grain moved this fall, this harvest season? Are there any solutions right now, or is this just another thing to think about the overall picture of infrastructure going forward and maybe any improvements we need to make?
Well, it's a reminder of the fact that infrastructure needs to be a key priority for the industry, for agriculture in general, and for the soybean industry in particular. But it also is a reminder of the fact that of the old adage within supply chains is don't put all of your eggs in one basket. The more you can spread those eggs across multiple baskets, the better positioned you are as an industry, the more resilient you are as an industry. So for states like Iowa, there's a benefit in the fact that we are the number one pork producing state in the country, the number one egg producing state in the country. So there is a very strong local market for those soybeans. You also have the ability to go to the west coast of the United States or rail into the Mexican market. So you do have a number of these options B, C, and D, whereas a number of other states don't have that kind of optionality. So it is a continual reminder that it's always a good day to try to diversify your supply chain and to make it more resilient. It's particularly a good day to do so when you have some of these challenges that are confronting us.
He is Mike Steenhoek with the Soy Transportation Coalition, our guest on Between the Pods. Mike, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it as always, and have a great rest of your week.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you to Mike Steenhoek for joining today's show. And it is time now for our closing market coverage. We are joined now by Sam Trainor of agmarket.net. At the end of the trading day here on Thursday, I'm joined now by Sam Trainor of agmarket.net. And Sam, as we get ready for the WASDE report coming up tomorrow morning, what did we see in the trading today in the grains?
So today we saw a little bit of weakness in the corn and soybean markets. Wheat was a little higher and livestock markets were higher, but like I said, weakness there in corn and soybeans. Seeing some rain in South America here as they have been a little dry as of late, so a little pressure there, and then obviously harvest pressure. I know soybean harvest here in our neck of the woods is getting close to wrapping up, and people are switching to corn. And I think we're just seeing a lot of commercial selling as they're buying grain from the farmers across the scale here.
Sam, what is the industry perspective kind of right now going into the WASDE report tomorrow? Have you read anything? Have you heard anything as far as anything that could be a surprise in the WASDE report, or do we think that it's going to be mostly in line with those expectations?
The expectations are indicating a slight reduction to both yield and production, looking for 183.3 on the corn versus 183.6 last month, and 53 even on the beans versus 53.2 last month. Personally, I kind of feel that soybean yield could be left alone, honestly. Just like I said, don't want to get caught marketing out your back door, but just listening to farmers that I speak to every day, yields have been very tremendous. Really, hearing some best evers, and if not best ever, top three. So I just have a hard time believing that we can see much of a reduction here, but I've been wrong before, and I'll probably be wrong again. So there's that.
So if it does come in line with those expectations, we would probably move past the report pretty quickly, wouldn't we? And just start thinking about those things you mentioned earlier, like the Brazil weather.
Absolutely, yeah. So next line of topic here for the markets is going to be that South American weather. As we get into November, December, January, that's going to be your prime time weather market season for South America. You can equate that to May, June, July here in the U.S. as far as when the corn and soybean crops are getting made. So that'll be the key focus for traders here once we get past this supply and demand report tomorrow.
On the other side of the ag marketplace, what did we see with the cattle and hogs in trade today?
We saw a very strong trade in the cattle and hog markets today. December live cattle up $1, November feeders up $1.27, lean hogs up $1.37. So very strong across the board. Continue to trade near the high end of the trading range there on the December live cattle chart. Getting up near some downtrends, drawn off of a couple of highs. I know we've been trading in that kind of consolidated range here for the last 4 or 5 sessions, but maintained those high levels. And something to keep in mind too, with the dryness that we've seen here recently, pasture conditions are continuing to deteriorate, which that's going to delay any increase in cattle production here as we move forward. So something to keep an eye on as we go into next year.
How has the latest macroeconomic news that we've received in terms of inflation factored into what we're seeing in the ag marketplace, specifically the livestock right now?
The outside noise coming in from the stock markets and whatnot, we continue to see strength in the stock market. Yesterday, I believe, marked a all-time high in the S&P. So as there's strength there, we continue to see strength in the livestock markets, and I believe that'll continue here as we move forward. It's traveled very, very similarly that if you follow the livestock markets along with the stock markets there, it seems like as one is higher, the other kind of follows. So continue to watch for that to have a strong correlation here.
He is Sam Trainor with agmarket.net, our guest here today. Sam, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Easiest way would be to visit our website at agmarket.net, or you could give us a call here in Normal at 1-800-779-1515.
Thanks so much for the time, Sam. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to Sam for joining today's show. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, which you can find anytime on our website under the Markets tab at iowaagnet.com.
December corn closes down 2.5 at 418.5. November soybeans down 5.5 at 1014 3/4. December soybean meal down 5.10 at 316.10. December soybean oil up 70 cents at 43.76. Chicago wheat up 4 3/4 at 603 3/4. Minneapolis wheat up 2 even at 650 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat up 2 1/4 at 611 even. December oats down 3 1/4 at 384 even. On the Merc, October live cattle up 97 cents at 189.17. October feeder cattle up $1 even at 250.27. December lean hogs up $1.37 at 76.95. December pork cutout up 75 cents at 90.65. Class 3 milk up 5 cents at 22.62.
That brings us to the end of our market coverage here for Thursday, and that brings us as well to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow our social media at Facebook, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't forget as well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notification icon as well, as that will let you know whenever we have any new video content available. Also, don't forget our morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, which can be found at Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. And check out our daily Iowa Ag Matters podcast. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Dustin Huffman, Andy Peterson, and Riley Smith, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.